What? Did you think I was going to use the same music for book 2? Come on, I've got 8 music tracks, 1 for each book, and they're even themed to the books as well. So, it's time for The Way of Tiger, book 2. Here we go. I am Ninja. My parents are the heaven and the earth. My home is my body. My power is loyalty. My magic is training. My life and my death is breathing. My body is control. My eyes are the sun and the moon. My ears are sensitivity. My laws are self-protection. My strength is adaptability. My ambition is taking every opportunity with fullness. My friend is my mind. My enemy is carelessness. My protection is right action. My weapons are everything that exists. My strategy is one foot in front of the other. My trust is in Quan. My way is the way of the tiger. Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry. I've got the house to myself for a bit, so it's time for some more Way of the Tiger. In the previous episode, we escaped from Quenchheart Keep and made it to the city of Druath Glenann, pursued by soldiers of the Legion of the Sword of Doom. There we were warned to flee the city, and so we headed in the least expected direction, back towards the Goblin's Teeth Mountains, where, as we were pursued by soldiers and hunting dogs and war dogs, we tumbled down through a pit in the ground as it just gave way beneath us. And so here we are. There is a grinding noise as the stone trapdoor above you moves back into place. You light a torch, not entirely sure where we get that from, which shows you that you're in a narrow tunnel. You climb up to the trapdoor, but it is too heavy for you to move. Descending to the tunnel once more, you have no choice but to follow its meandering down into the depths beneath the Goblin's Teeth Mountains. So, just as a reminder, for this adventure and this adventure alone, we have the opportunity to call upon Quan to redeem us, to offer us salvation in a situation where none seemed apparent. We might not actually need to use this. To the best of my knowledge, there are, I think, 5 different opportunities to do so over the course of the adventure. I think 3 of them don't work because of overwhelming great evil in the area, which makes that Quan is not able to fully manifest his power. One of them works partially, and the other one is great if you don't have the skill of arrow cutting, which we have had since the first book. So we might be able to get away without using it entirely. Let's see how we do this time. Your torch spits as you pace silently along the tunnel, the edges of which are chipped and cracked. It must have taken the work of many hammers to mine, but little care has been taken to smooth the walls. After a while, your sharp ears catch the hum of chattering voices, and a vague smell of offal reaches you. There is a glow cast on the tunnel wall ahead from what must be a large opening. You inch your way forwards. You may wish to look through the opening, or you could hurry quickly past. We're carrying a lit torch in the darkness. The cavern beyond may be well lit, but we're still carrying a light in the darkness. Let's not go too close and let's hurry past.
You slip quickly past the opening, shielding the flame of your torch behind your body, but your ears tell you that a horde of beings inhabit what must be a large cavern, or so you judge by the resounding echoes. You hurry on down the tunnel. So far, so good. The tunnel bends downwards and a set of steps leads on ahead. You hurry down them into a cave with a great square rough-hewn rock at its centre. Beyond the rock is a precipice so deep that your torch cannot light its bottom. A tunnel leads on beyond the cave. You may wish to examine the rock, or perhaps you would rather hurry past the precipice. A big square block of rock in the middle of the cave is interesting. It may be a bit like an altar by the edge of the cliff. Let's go take a look. If you know for sure what type of creatures lives in these caves, turn to section 199. If you are not yet sure, turn to 188. This is a cunning trap by the authors, because the only way you know for certain is if the inhabitants are chasing you, and there's an angry mob on your heels. In which case, diverting away to go and look at this big square block is probably a bad idea if you are trying to flee. This is a trap for cheaters who see the opportunity and go, "Oh yeah, I know, give me the information." And then they get caught by a big angry mob, presumably. We don't know. So this isn't asking if you know what lives here, it's if they are chasing you. And they are not. We have mercifully avoided that fate so far, and we've only had one real opportunity to trigger that, which was the cave entrance. You run quickly to the rough-hewn block of stone, and in the light of your torch you can make something out carved into the grey rock. It looks like an amoeboid mass of jelly and globe-like tentacles with many eyes floating in the body of the being. The carving is crude, but the likeness is enough to suggest something truly hideous, and the eyes seem to claim your attention as you strain to see if one of them is moving to look at you. Your scalp crawls. The carvings beneath it show that what must be goblins are sacrificing their own people to it in the absence of victims of other races. The evil fascination which the altar exercises over your spirit is broken as two goblins clad in greasy leather aprons walk into the cave. They cry out and run back up the tunnel, and you decide to continue on your way down the opposite tunnel which leads deeper into the mountains. Now they have sounded the alarm. You can run faster than the bow-legged goblins, but they know the tunnels which are their home. You turn a sharp bend and your torch shows a wooden doorway on your right. Will you open the door and slip through, hoping to evade your pursuers, or continue on along the tunnel you are in? That's a wooden door, so there may be gaps between the boards of the door through which our torchlight might shine, if it's just like a small little side cupboard. We'd better continue. Additionally, beyond that door is an auto-kill that is avoided by calling on Quan for redemption. It's for partial success. It doesn't take us entirely out of the mountains, and it will not take us past a great and powerful threat that lies between us and the freedom of the surface world. As that is an ancient evil, we've seen a likeness of it carved upon the stone altar. And it will cause us to miss one or two valuable items that we may need later on. So I'm going to continue on down the tunnel. Something I like about the goblins in this adventure is that artistically they do not look like the typical appearance we have come to expect from goblins. And another nice thing is that later on the dark elves we encounter look just like the goblins actually. And I wonder if they were originally going to be goblins or not. but were changed to dark elves to make them seem more dangerous later on. They also don't look like the stereotypical dark elf look we have come to expect. And that's good, it gives this world a more unique feel. The tunnel curves round in an S-bend, and then your way is barred by a heavy gate. Warily, you push the gate open and slip through into a dimly lit cavern. Holes in the roof allow beams of daylight into the cavern, which is covered by what looks to be a moving black carpet. High-pitched chirruping sounds all around you as you walk across the cavern. High-pitched chirruping sounds all around you, and, as you walk across the cavern, a pain in your leg as you are bitten tells you that the moving carpet is in fact a sea of black rats. Grain has been strewn underfoot, and they are preoccupied with eating. You run across the cavern, heedless of the rats underfoot, and there is a clamour behind you. A party of goblins with short, stabbing swords are chasing you. You leave the passage, pass a grain store, and realise that the goblins are farming the rats for meat. Revolted, you run along a tunnel, which leads even deeper into the mountain. High-pitched chirruping sounds. Here, sounds is a verb and not a noun, which makes it harder for the sentence to flow. High-pitched chirruping sounds all around you. It's not there are high-pitched chirruping sounds all around you. It is sounding, it is happening, it is occurring. It's a very active word. And I think I'd just about managed to pull it off there if I hadn't drawn attention to it. As you run on, the tumult behind you increases. Although you have not seen a turning or side tunnel, more goblins seem to have joined in the chase. Rounding yet another corner, you are faced with a fork in the passage. Will you take the left fork, which shows signs of heavy wear, or the right, which does not? Now, in this case, the Fighting Fantasy rule would say we turn left, as a default if we have no better reason to turn another way. In this case, the left-hand passage shows signs of heavy wear and frequent use, and the right-hand passage is rarely used by these creatures. We can reasonably divide the creatures pursuing us into 3 groups. The first group will automatically turn left because that's what their brain does whenever they come to this junction, and they might run down the left-hand passage a bit before a few of them might think, wait, maybe we should have gone the other way. And some won't even do that. The second group won't be quite so simple-minded. They will reach the junction, and they will assume that I turned left, because that's what they all do every time they come here, and so they will also pursue off down that direction, but they will at least have considered the possibility of the other passage. And the third group won't presume I've taken the most travelled passage. Some of them may still go left. Some may be swept up with the group euphoria and frenzy and go that way. Others will go right. So essentially, if I go left, I may shake off a few of my pursuers who will go down the right-hand passage. If I go right, I may shake off a great number of them who go left. Now, obviously, there's a very good reason why the goblins don't go down the passage to the right. There could be some sort of danger, in which case I am a ninja, I should be able to cope with it, and if it is dangerous, they may be less likely to pursue me down there. And the ones who do follow will presume that I'll come up against a dead end and sort of snicker, and they'll slow a bit. Well, no, they won't necessarily slow, but they won't be so eager to pursue me past the danger if I make it past it, because they won't expect me being capable of having done so. I can safely say that both of these passages eventually lead to the same point. One is slightly more dangerous than the other because of the goblins. I shall take the right-hand path. Are you a skilled lockpick? Yes or no? We do have the skill of picking locks and disarming traps. Now, we've only been asked about picking locks, and we haven't been presented with a lock. This could be a clever way of asking if we are skilled at disarming traps, while hiding the actual intent of the question. As you glide down the tunnel, which bends round some outjutting blocks of hard red rock, the cries of your pursuers ring hollowly behind you, which would imply that they are falling behind and mostly heading off in the other direction. Also that it echoes because we're underground. As you round one particular red-coloured boulder, your training in the detection of traps sets off a mental alarm and you pull up short. Ahead is a dark greyish ooze, some kind of quicksand. You notice a slab of rock jutting slightly from the surface and you bound onto it, drops of grey sludge splattering your legs, and then over the ooze to the other side. You continue on your way towards a large cavern. Before you reach it, you see a pool at the side of the tunnel. Will you hurry past it, or use it to wash the grey filth from your garments? The grey ooze may leave recognisable tracks which could be followed. It could also be acidic and damage us if left on our suit for too long. Let's wash it off. Hopefully before it dries completely. As you wash the grey slime off your costume, your hand touches a piece of cold metal in the shallow pool. Your fingers curl around a small box stuck in a crack which you prise out and then open. It contains what appears to be no more than a brass signet ring. You put it on and replace the box in the pool before continuing on your way once more. Make a note of the brass signet ring on your character sheet. So why do we replace the box? Well, number one, we don't need it. We could just ditch it. But if someone put it there intentionally, rather than just dropping it, and they're going to come back for it, they will have the satisfaction of knowing the box is there, and they'll have to actually take it out and open it to discover their loss. I'm not saying they won't take it out, but it will... There's a slight chance, you know. Right. The goblins have not dared to cross the morass of ooze, but as you lope steadily on, their muffled cries tell you that they are approaching you, but in a different tunnel. The one which you are running along is now lit with crude ornamental lanterns. You run onward until, rounding a corner, you surprise the biggest goblin you have ever seen. He has been counting out gold coins which he shoves under a cloth before picking up a longsword which is clearly not of goblin origin, and which seems absurdly large for him to wield. He wears a dented copper crown and rusty ringmail armour. You have still found no way out of the goblin caves, but there is another tunnel behind the goblin king. If you are skilled with poison needles, you may wish to use one. We are not. Or you may hurl a shuriken if you have one left. We have exactly one left, and I believe I'm saving it for a later point. Or you may simply run to the attack, which appears to be our only remaining option. Okay. Ooh, went a little too far there. As you prepare to flatten the Goblin King, the long sword which he was struggling to heft soars from his hands into the air and begins to fight you on its own. You dodge nimbly, but it is as if the sword is wielded by a champion-at-arms who you cannot see or kill. The blade cuts your head, lose 2 endurance. If you are still alive, you must decide what to do. Well, we'll take the damage first, as instructed. Will you try to snap the dancing sword with an iron fist punch? That would have to be one hell of a punch, and we'd have to find an extreme weak point on the sword, which is in motion. Flee the way you came, back into danger. There may be some goblins pursuing us, and it would be back towards the quicksand, which we don't want to fall into. Or risk everything in an attack on the Goblin King. I think that has to be what we're going to do. The Goblin King has drawn a short sword with which he defends himself against your sudden onslaught. You will have to parry the attacks of the dancing sword with your iron sleeve rods while trying to kill the Goblin King. Will you use the Cobra Strike Punch, the Lightning Strike Kick, or the Teeth of the Tiger Throw? Well now. The Forked Lightning Kick is a two-pronged kick to the, I'd say, stomach or groin, and then up towards the head. The Cobra Strike Punch is an upwards jutting thrusting motion. Looks like it would be more useful against a taller opponent than against those of a Forked Lightning Kick when it comes to a second kick. The Teeth of the Tiger Throw would involve launching ourselves into the air while a flying sword is trying to kill us, where we can't really dodge. This seems very foolish. Looking at our character sheet, we do have a positive kick modifier, so I think we should go for that. Okay. Kick it is. Whoop. And here we have the Goblin King, as we would have seen him if we had come from another direction. Your foot strikes twice at the Goblin King's belly and head as the dancing sword almost spears your chest. He has 10 endurance. I think I'm going to use a point of inner force, because our defense against the Goblin King is a 7, so he has a decent chance of striking us, and a 6 against the dancing sword, which is our chance of kicking him. We can only block one attack, so we are probably going to take a lot of damage if he survives. So I'm going for inner force to double my damage. That way, if I hit, I've got a 2 in 3 chance of taking him out, because 3 plus 2 is 5 doubled. Okay, game, be nice to me, come on. You can do this. It was all going so well. Well, we miss. Let's see if the Goblin King can miss. Nope. And the magic sword misses. Okay, we will parry the Goblin King. No. If we parry, then I think we have to take the hit. If we parry, we get -2 on our next attack. So the Goblin King hits us for 1 point of damage, which we can easily take. We will kick again. Much better, with inner force, I should add, because I know I'm supposed to say it before the attack, but if we kick him and he survives, we can't do more than 8 damage. We need to end this fight quickly. So 1d6 plus 2. Why am I doing map tools brackets? 7 is 14 points of damage. The Goblin King is vanquished. Excellent stuff. The Goblin King collapses, limbs splayed, and the dancing sword clatters to the floor. You pick it up as the cave is suddenly filled by maddened goblins, meaning we probably don't have time to grab a load of coins. And of course the dancing sword is a classic AD&D first edition magic item, as is a lot of the stuff in these adventures actually. There's a lot of nostalgia for old school gamers tucked away here. Now, we can run into the next cavern or try to use the dancing sword against them. The word try is there. We don't know how to activate it. He obviously did, although he was struggling to do so. Will they be afraid and assume we know how to use it? That's a risk we probably can't take. Let's leg it. You run on once more, legs heavy with fatigue, and you have put 2 sharp twists of the tunnel behind you when you come to a passageway at the foot of some crudely carved steps to your right, which leads into darkness. You pause to take stock, but another group of goblins appears above you on the steps. Not stopping to think, other than to wish that the misshapen and spiteful goblins had never been created, you take the way that leads into darkness. It seems to turn back on itself and plunges downhill sharply, but by now you are utterly confused by the labyrinthine windings of the goblin tunnels. You have gone very deep below the mountainside before you realize that there are no signs of pursuit. Turning a corner, your torch half-lights a repellent and terrifying sight. Dun 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 dun! Just thought I'd fill that in there as we were getting to this oozy, splodgy, nasty thing with eyes in it all over the cavern floor, and this revolting monstrosity as well. A goblin, missing its legs and lower body, dangles at the foot of a plaited vine which is knotted round its neck. Its head is covered by a hood of purple leather which you know from your study of folklore denotes a goblin sacrifice to one of their gods. Below it is what looks like a pool of black bubbling lava 20 feet across. Its edges are distended into tongue-like legs and several pale green eyes quiver in the black jelly of its body. You are looking at a primordial terror, a relic from the days when every living thing on the world of Orb crept on its belly, long before the time of the elder gods. As you stare in stupefied fascination, one of the green lidless eyes floats into a tongue of matter which inches towards you. The primordial terror uses the eldritch power of its thoughtless mind to hold you still until it can envelop you. You can think clearly even though you are rooted to the spot. Will you try to spur yourself to action by dwelling on the grisly fate that awaits you? Probably not the best option. Force yourself to disbelieve in the apparition before you, knowing that it is an illusion, it will disappear. Recite the Ninja Covenant, the Ninja no Chigiri. Or, if you have not done so already, will you call upon your god Quan the Redeemer to be your salvation? Right, now. If we call upon Quan for salvation, he will not come to our aid here. This ancient terror is so powerful he cannot assist us. If we had called upon his assistance earlier, it would have brought us to this ancient terror, which would block us from escaping from a mountain, and we would have to face it anyway. So that was a partial, and this is a absolute no. We will recite the Ninja Covenant, because that seems like a pretty good idea. It's discipline, it's ingrained in our psyche. It will help us re-establish our identity and make ourselves free once again. As the nameless horror threatens to engulf you, you mouth the words of the covenant. When you reach the phrase, "I will be killed many times, yet will not die," you are able to draw on the mental powers of your training as a ninja and you can move again. Let's go get that open for a moment. Maybe beginning of book 3? Book 3. I will vanish into the night, change my body to wood or stone, sink into the earth and walk through walls and locked doors. I will be killed many times, yet will not die. And we know we shall not die here. Will you use your torch on the amorphous mass? Possibly a good idea. Might put out the torch, could be very bad. Use a poison needle if you have the skill. Look, a poison needle isn't going to do very much. We'd want something like the blood of Nil to get it away from here. Okay, obviously punching it is a bad idea, as we see in a nearby section. Or risk a great leap to swing on the plaited vine that dangles the body of the goblin above it. Let us do that. We don't have the skill of acrobatics, but we have psyched ourselves up quite heroically. Your aching limbs are charged with adrenaline as you launch yourself towards the goblin's body, knowing that if you should fail to reach it, you will sink into the very being of the primordial one. Something which may indeed have happened if we had not mouthed the Ninja no Chigiri first. You sail above the heaving black morass, and your fingers cling onto the half-dissolved body of the goblin. As the nameless horror surges up towards you in a tidal wave of putrescent flesh, you haul yourself up the plaited vine and set it swinging gently, untying the goblin's body as you do so that you can pull the bottom of the vine up out of the reach of the primordial one. As the vine swings in an ever greater arc, you catch sight of a flight of stone steps leading upwards towards the goblin's god. Beyond the goblin's god, actually. Letting go, you somersault through the air and drop near the bottom step. As you look back, the horror is feeding on the remains of the goblin, whose head is just disappearing below the heaving surface. Let's not stick around to watch that. You are now hopelessly lost and uncertain whether in the darkness and the confusion of flight you may have missed a tunnel which leads out of the mountain. The stairs lead upwards for what seems like an age and at last bring you to a crossroads. Gritting your teeth in tired determination, you opt for the opposite tunnel which continues upwards. At last you see a welcoming circle of daylight ahead, and your footsteps quicken without you even realizing as you smell the beautiful fresh air. When you emerge, you are high up on the far side of the mountains from Quenchheart Keep, and a great panorama of forests and wildlands rolls below you towards the valley of the Crow River in the far west. We have made it through the mountains. We have endured the dangerous fight with the Goblin King. Look, if our attacks miss, that fight becomes a death trap, okay? And it just so happens that many of the fights in this book are pretty bloody hard. There are things we can do to mitigate that, but there are a lot of times when the luck of the dice can just absolutely stop a playthrough. So, with that being said, it seems wise to end the episode here. We've made it safely through the mountains. The soldiers of the Legion of the Sword of Doom are hopefully still searching for us on the other side. Some may have been sent further, but for now, we can breathe a sigh of relief and look forwards to exploring the surrounding area in the upcoming episode. I hope you've all enjoyed this one, and I do look forward to seeing you all in the very next episode. I'll say goodbye for now though, and cheerio everyone. See you all soon.